Okay guys, Assalamualaikum dan selamat kembali ke podcast Hikmah di Sebalik Kisah. Aku host utama korang, Saifullah Abdul Rahman. Hari ni aku ada guest, alright. Tapi sebelum aku introduce dia kepada korang, aku just nak share this episode is sponsored by Hikmah Relief Services dan juga Hikmah Ukhuwah Merch, alright. So basically Hikmah Relief Services, diorang ada bikin sponsor a meal kepada underprivileged and also the orphan, the widow dekat Uganda, dekat Lombok, dekat even the Sabil, orang-orang kat Mekah, alright. Kita ada bikin water well and then there are more services available there. Korang boleh pergi TikTok Hikmah Relief Services and also kita ada bikin kurban for this year, right? So far alhamdulillah sabuntannya. Kalau korang nak support kita punya podcast Hikmah di Sebalik Kisah, you can go to Hikmah Relief Services, engage them. So your support to them is your support to this platform. And also Hikmah Ukhuwah Merch, dorang selling apparels, right? As of now, stock dah low, right? Pasal kita sikit hari ada ikut booth. But then we are restocking, so just follow them so korang tak miss kita punya launch, alright? Kita punya launch of new design lah, alright? So basically do follow them punya TikTok, diorang punya TikTok lah, okay? Because sometimes they do live all that on new design, right? So hari ni aku ada tetamu bersama aku hari ni, alright? Korang boleh nampak dia lagi nanti lah, sabar guys, tengok aku lah. Dah lama pun tak tengok, kita taking a break kan for quite some time semenjak bulan 12 umrah, lepas tu patah balik, office wifi down, and then after that bulan puasa, so kita kasi habis semua. Now we are back in Syawal. Okay guys, aku nak introduce korang kepada aku punya guest ni. Okay, aku kenal dia in 2012, 2012, right? So basically kita was dekat sekolah, private school. Okay, and then dekat Pulau Cendana, aku will just term that as. And aku saw dia recently dekat live because they're doing business and such. Been sometime doing business lah, but aku just came across dia. And then aku drop a comment dekat dia punya live, right? Tapi dia ada short term memory. Dia kata short term memory, dia tak ingat aku lah. Kan orang yang tak prominent selalu orang tak ingat. Alhamdulillah, Allah menjaga aku. Famous buyer guys, famous buyer. So don't make me famous, right? But still share because kita ada perkongsian yang mungkin ada apa-apa yang boleh kita ambil sebagai hikmah dan ibrah, okay? And then bila aku explain kan aku siapa kat komen tu, sekali dia cakap, ini aku punya rival. Apa cerita rival? Aku orang baik kan, muka decent. Macam boleh rival pula dengan dia ni? Rival apa ni? Sekarang apakah rival yang dia masukkan ni? Itu nanti kita nak tanya. Tapi sebelum kita tanya dia, kita nak kenal dulu siapakah dia. Alright. Okay bro. Now your face is available to them. Okay. So introduce them who you are briefly.
Okay.
Before kita get the ball rolling.
Assalamualaikum to all viewers. My name is Kro Yusri. I know Saifullah back in 2012 kat Pulau Cendana. And yeah, he's my rival.
Rival apa ni? Cerita.
Nak terus pun.
Rival dalam part apa? orang kira nak tahu rival dalam bab apa.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, actually my rival when it comes to study.
Kita student nampak. Okay, that time kira private study we take private study. Tapi kan rival dari segi macam mana? Kira dengki punya rival ke macam mana tu?
No, nothing like that.
Okay.
In fact, like kita actually push each other out of our comfort zone. Macam aku tengok kau bagus, aku nak jadi lagi bagus. Kau tengok aku bagus, kau pun nak jadi lagi bagus. So in a way we push each other.
Yeah, it's kira something yang kita tak cakap tau. Aku nak compete dengan kau. No, but it's something yang kira maybe dalam diri kita.
Yes.
As a kira someone yang doing certain things, kita pun hard when we are doing that. And the determination is kira betul exam lah. But alhamdulillah lah kulihal. Kita at that point of time we were taking like GEG, is like Sec 1, Sec 2, right?
Yes.
It's like Sec 1, Sec 2. So kita dah tua kan. Then kita daripada Sec 1, Sec 2 tu, kita nak terus jump ke O level.
Yes.
But to go to O level, you need to score grade 1 for Maths and grade 1 for English.
Yes.
So guys, by the way ni dia tengah mempertahankan bahasa Melayu dia, okay? Dia ada sikit kelu sikit dekat bahasa Melayu. So kalau dia masuk English, so just fine with it Aku tak kurang faham English lah. So dia score both 1. So dia dapat terus daripada set 1 set 2 punya level tu, dia terus dapat jump to O level. Aku punya English kira pasal malam, jadi aku tak dapat, so aku go to N level. So how was your journey studying as a young adult?
Okay, back then, okay, before I touch on that, and you know, when you got your results, and I didn't know about my results yet. So you were my benchmark, bro. Betul tak? So when you receive your result, then you told me, Kro, aku dah dapat result tau. I ask you, so what's your result? Then I get 1 and 2. Then I'm like, alamak, my heart is like, oh man, how am I supposed to jump to O level? Because for me, it's like, you're way more disciplined than me when it comes to studies. And then for me, it's like, wah, kalau Saifullah tak nak buat, okay lah, that's it for me lah. It's because my results came later.
Okay.
But when they announced my result,
Yeah.
they said I was the only one who got Muhammad. Aku macam tak percaya lah. Macam, betul tak? Betul ni? Full ke? Belajar lagi ni.
Aku belajar macam bikin roket, guys. Tapi roket tak jadi. Roket mungkin pakai bunga api kan. Dia punya kira fly high. Aku naik kan sikit. Zek. Kita sangat. Yeah, so
Okay, so kalau kau recall kan, my turning point kan, was not because of pergi Pulau Cendana ke apa. It's not lah. There was this particular class test, maths. Then I was the only one who got perfect score.
Masya Allah. That one before you go for the private school, right?
No, after. So
Okay,
during that, so Mr.
During.
Lim punya class.
Okay.
So I was like, betul tak betul kan? I mean like compare to, katalah bangsa lain ni semua.
Okay. But how were you when you were younger, when at real age schooling?
When I was in school, yes, I was one of the smart students, express stream and all that. But I dropped out.
Okay.
Not because of my studies.
Lifestyle.
Big lifestyle and family problem and all that. So I moved to Malaysia with my dad.
Okay.
Then, when I got back to Singapore and live with my mom, I really got no interest in studies anymore. So that's where I did all the bad things I did back then lah.
Okay guys, kejap Okay. Untuk korang yang baru ikut kita yang podcast korang might not know, but untuk orang yang dah follow kita from kita start aku will like to take this short while to share that kita punya prinsip dekat podcast kita, we are not going to dig up people's past, okay? Because to us, tu benda kau boleh dapat kat tempat lain. So we just want to focus on the current and how we going to move forward. Because why? People might say, kan tapi cerita lama kan macam akan lebih up kan kau punya viewers and such. Yeah, but the thing is, our Prophet SAW said, barang siapa yang menutup aib seseorang di dunia, Allah akan menutup aibnya di akhirat dan dunia lah kan. So we are not going to talk about the past, dig up and such. So we are just going to move briefly. So korang ada idea. Korang tengok kita je, korang boleh judge. Korang boleh judge. Kira there was an ustaz, like kita kat kedai kopi tengah berbual dengan somebody kan, and then orang tu was like macam talking about past. So I was telling him something and I was saying that ni bukan nak buka aib sekali dia ustaz saya apa tau, anta tak payah buka aib, orang tengok dah tahu. Yeah, so you guys can assume and whatever, but now we going to hear on his journey lah. I mean, yeah, so when you came back to Singapore and then you are not interested and you move on with your life, your lifestyle wavered. Okay, then from there?
That's how I ended up in Pulau Celana. That's how I met you.
Okay.
But it was a good experience. It was a turning point for me when I got that results of the class test. I mean, it was a simple...
Final or
mid? No, it's just a class test.
Like CA, like that, so called. Okay.
So when I was the only one who got the perfect score in maths, and knowing me, I hated maths like nobody's business.
Sure.
Yeah, that's why. Okay. I mean, back then in school.
Okay.
So this time around, I got perfect score, and like, I'm not trying to be racist or anything like that, but usually when it comes to academics,
yes,
Malays are not among the best.
Yeah.
Right? So for me to beat like everyone else, it's like, for me, it's not about the marks.
Okay.
Right. Then when I got back to my room and I try to ponder, I realized that anything is possible. So it's like, it's just whether you want it or not.
Okay.
How bad you want it. And me being good at maths, right? So I just think of my life this way. Okay, 24 hours per day.
Okay.
You sleep 8 hours per day.
Okay.
That's like 1/3.
Alright.
Right. So if you get to live 30 years, that means you have slept for 10 years. Am I right? 1/3, right?
Okay.
So how long do you think you can live? Maybe, let's say 90 years.
We take average 70 lah.
Okay, 70.
Okay.
If you
Okay,
get to
kalau
live to
senang kira
70,
90. Okay.
okay, if you live to 90,
Okay.
you sleep for 1/3. That means you will be
30 years.
sleeping for 30 years.
Uh-uh.
So your waking moment, you don't fully maximize your waking hours. When you wake up, you don't straight away like do something
Beneficial.
right? You still take your time. You do all the bad things and wrong things. Then I realized that I've already wasted like so many years of my life,
Okay.
right? And
How old were you back then?
26, I think.
26?
Um,
ke?
when
No.
when I'm
Okay, when you take the school, I mean
no, that was 24.
24.
24.
Okay. 24. 24.
24.
Tua juga ke?
Ah.
Okay. I still think that at that point of time is like we are in our 20s. I mean early 20s.
Early 20s,
Yeah, okay.
But then again, it's like I realized that why I have wasted like so much time, time that I cannot get back, right? So I realized I decided that this time round I'm gonna do it right. So it's like no more wasting time.
Okay.
So that's why like nowadays, whoever who knows me now, they know that whatever I do is like I'm serious. Like no more hanky-panky. Everything is like so serious about me. I want to do
Plan lah.
Yeah, plan. Because I cannot afford to waste any more time. Especially living in Singapore.
Fast pace.
Yeah, fast pace. The standard cost of living
And
is
you
very
are actually, when you are back in Singapore, you are actually building your life from scratch.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
You are not like go out, then suddenly everything is ready for you.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And you know that every Singaporean is, everyone just want to buy a house, get married, settle down and all that. So it boils down to money, right? So imagine when 2016, I only have like $3,000 in my CPF. 27 years old, $3,000 CPF.
So that's the epitome of mak dulu cakap ni jantan tak ada SPM.
That's right. So I realized that, how am I supposed to get married and buy a house and all that? Like who would want to partner up with me? So I said, okay, there's no more time to play. I mean, like, I would love to start from scratch, as in work for a company or whatever. I mean, I already got the qualification and all that. But then I think again, that's not for me. Because, I know that I'm a self-made person. I just want to be my own boss. I want to control how much income I'm going to make and all that. So I decided to do whatever business I can.
So from start, you already have that mentality, a business mentality.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
Ever since I got back, started doing selling clothes on Carousell, like streetwear, jogger pants, you know that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, from jogger pants to makeup product. It's like a lot. Face.
You try everything.
Blackhead removal.
Yeah. All those were the days. Anything kira pasal malam. Okay.
Whack je. Jadi I control how much I can make. So from there I realized that it can be done. It's not easy, but it can be done. So I realized that how much effort you put into it, that determines the amount of income I'm going to make.
Okay.
So of course, some succeed, some fail and all that. Then I venture into other businesses and all that. Yeah. So eventually, should I touch on my music?
That was your school days, right?
After,
I mean, then you took your diploma, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, I wanted to start my career as a singer-songwriter, but then COVID happened.
Okay.
So I was quite devastated because back then I only know that music is life to me. It's like I'm so passionate about my music, not because of music, but because of the kind of message that I want to send across in my music. So I was devastated when COVID happened. Then I already got married. Then my wife totally understand, like my background, my situation, all that. She was willing to accept me for who I am, and she just wanted me to pursue whatever that I want to the point
2020 you got married.
Yes.
Okay.
To the point that she said, it's okay, don't worry about financial and all that. Just go ahead and do what you have to do. I'll take care of the rest. So yeah, as a guy, you feel like, you feel like
Supported lah.
supported, right?
Khadijah was on your back. Oh, baik. Okay.
But then, bro, I didn't feel good.
About?
I mean, like, we are guys, we're not those biawak hidup.
Yeah, I understand.
When I see my wife, like, working, and I'm at home, like, doing my music, I was like, what am I doing? It's like, I promised her that I wanted to be a better husband. I wanted to be a better version of myself every single day. But then when I see that, how am I a better husband doing that? So I tell myself, it's okay, I can't wait for this COVID to end. I need to do something to earn income. So I did delivery, I did Lala Move, I did Grab and all that. So by the time I got home, I'm really so tired. And music is something creative. You need to be like calm, relaxed, right? In order for you to produce music. But every time I got home, I was so tired. So I really not in the mood to. So that's like from 1 day to 1 week to 1 month to 1 year, and COVID is still
There.
there. Then during that point of time, I stumbled upon Hot Wheels.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was a funny story though.
Allah open another door for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, my whole life, I didn't expect that one day I would be in this Hot Wheels industry, right? And
You personally like Hot Wheels?
no,
No. Okay.
no. So I got to know by a mutual friend, and this guy, he's selling Hot Wheels live on social media.
Okay.
Yeah, I was there. He invited me over. Then I was like looking at the live stream. Then they are selling Hot Wheels. Then I was like, hey, these are like grown ass men,
Okay.
They are
Toys.
selling toys. I feel like cringe,
Okay.
But then I heard the price that they were selling for.
The demand.
Yeah, the demand, the price. It's like a few hundreds, a few thousands. Then I was like, what are they selling?
Sounds good.
Then I got to know more about Hot Wheels, and fast forward, I did try to be a live seller as well.
Okay.
Buy and sell Hot Wheels. But then I
Buy
realized,
and sell Hot Wheels.
yeah.
So I mean, like you buy Hot Wheels, then you sell just like that out from the box like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, like you buy one box, there's like 72 cars.
Oh, okay.
Then you can do that, or you can
Wholesale like
also
that,
you can hunt for those
rare
items. Then maybe you got it for like $5, you sell it for $10.
Rare $5.
The cheap one.
Okay.
Or you can buy something which is $100, you can sell it back for 150, that kind of amount. And believe it or not, right, bro? Hot Wheels worth more than gold. Yeah.
Okay.
The way it increase in amount, right? Yeah, it's
The
really
value.
more than, and it's very fast.
Okay.
Yeah, but you need to do your homework. You need to know what you're selling and all that. So I realized that with the amount of capital I had back then, I cannot compete with those OGs. Yeah. So I realized, I'm kind of wasting my time. Then I realized that those people who were still buying from me wasn't because they wanted or they collected those cars.
Okay.
It's purely because they wanted to support me as a friend.
All right.
So some people might just carry on with that, no problem. But to
Nothing
me,
special from you. I mean.
yeah.
Okay. It's like you're just like any other.
Yeah. So I felt bad because I don't want them to buy just for the sake of supporting me. I want them to buy things that they like, they collect. So I tell myself, okay, I'm gonna stop. I don't want my friends to buy things from me just because they want to support me. So I tell myself, okay, where can I go from here? Like, what can I do? That's where I realized that I look at all these Hot Wheels, right? You know how the designs are, they're pretty basic and all that, right? So I was thinking, why can't they do this design, that design, this
According
color?
to your taste.
Right. And
but Hot Wheels itself can custom. I mean, from the Hot Wheels itself.
no,
Cannot. Okay.
you have to do it from scratch.
Okay.
So that's what I did. Then
And you by yourself, I mean, you have a designing hand.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I remember you can draw.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Okay, so how it works is these Hot Wheels, right? If you want to customize them, they have all those it's called decals actually, but just take it as stickers that you paste on the Hot Wheels, right? So after you remove the paint, you put on the paint, the color of paint that you want, then you paste on these stickers, right? So you can buy these stickers from a lot of sellers, from Shopee, from everywhere. So that's what I did like 1-2 times because I wanted to learn the process of pasting those stickers and all that. Then after the second time, I was like,
Tedious,
it is,
because it's very small, right?
it is, bro. Yeah.
Then do you use any like enlargement punya?
At first, yeah.
Okay.
But now I
You
don't
need
need
to
it.
have a detailed
Yeah.
hands.
You need to have like steady hands. Then I realized that if I have access to these stickers, right, you also can buy them, right?
Yeah, true.
Yeah. So it's actually not my design, right? It's someone else's design.
Someone who create the sticker.
Yeah.
Okay.
So me being me,
Yeah.
I like to be different. I like to be original, authentic, and all that. So I learned how to create my own stickers.
Okay.
Yeah. So because I want to design them, I want them to fit perfectly on the car that I'm working on. So I learned how to do that. So that process took me like a few months to master it. Then eventually I got better and better. So from people trust in my work, in my craft, they started to buy more and more from me. Then I realized, there's a demand. So that's where I work less doing deliveries. I focus more into Hot Wheels.
So at that point of time, you're still doing delivery.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then slowly my delivery became lesser. My
More
Hot
time on
Wheels,
Hot Wheels.
yeah, more time on
Okay.
Hot Wheels. Then the price also increases because,
So purely self-taught.
yeah,
Okay. No courses, no
No.
mentorship, no.
No.
Okay, cool.
yeah. So hands-on. Hands-on. I do it every day. I mean, you can ask my wife. I barely sleep, especially when I'm working on the Hot Wheels, right?
Ya, kira dah macam jangan dah kronik, kira dah form. Tak boleh tinggal lah. Okay.
I can just keep
Yeah,
food,
understand.
drink, cigarette.
When you on it,
So I mean that shows that I'm enjoying it.
passion.
Yeah, passion. So it's not because of the Hot Wheels itself. I realized that I just love to design anything that involves creativity. I love that.
Yeah. So from there, then your Hot Wheel, is it only sold? I mean, is it only being sold here or you go
Okay.
overseas?
The first 2 years at least, I was selling it to the locals. Then I slowly move on to Malaysia. But then,
But you went to dorang macam exhibition or what?
yeah, but the thing is, when it comes to Malaysia, they have a lot of other customizers.
Okay.
Even Indonesia, Thailand. But what a lot of customizers don't have is the power of branding. So that's one of my strength actually. So
Okay. How do you determine branding?
for me, branding is about you create something. It's like a name for yourself, right? And
Trademark.
a trademark that people don't only believe in the product but believe in the brand, the name. So, for example, I give you Apple. Everyone knows by now that it's made in China and it costs like what, $10. We know that, but we still spend thousands of dollars buying Apple product.
Okay.
Why?
Branding.
Because we know we feel safe. As long as it's Apple, I don't care how much it costs. It make me feel safe. So consumers want that. That's the power of branding.
Apple is not sponsoring, okay? Okay.
So I understand that part about branding. So I know that whatever I do, when I talk about business, I don't only talk about the capital, the profit, the monetary part of business. I focus also on the branding, on the image.
When you create that, at that point of time when you have that thoughts about creating brand, right? How long already you have been doing business?
Years, bro.
Years.
Yeah.
Then that's when you start to appreciate the
Yes.
journey, and that's when you see that in order to be different from others, you need to establish your personal branding.
Yes. Correct.
Okay. So for Hot Wheels, how do you introduce. Okay, what's the brand for your Hot Wheels?
Okay, it's called Black Crow Customs.
Okay.
So
Okay, first, why Crow?
why Crow? Okay,
Because I know you as Crow, so why Crow?
you want the real answer or the fake answer?
Let's be real.
The real story was because of this movie back then.
Wendy.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I just had the hairstyle. That's it.
The
The same hairstyle.
straight.
Yeah.
Dulu,
That's it. That's all.
Okay.
Melekat.
Okay, alright. So people know you as that, and then you bring it into your
Yes.
business,
Mm-hmm.
Black Crow.
Yes.
So when you introduce your brand Black Crow, what did you do to make it look your brand for your
Okay.
Hot Wheels?
For me, I didn't know what was my signature,
Mhm.
what was Black Crow Custom signature.
Mm.
I only discovered along the way.
Mm.
So I listen to my customers. I look at the demand, what kind of stuff that they want to see.
Mhm.
So that's where I evolve, like slowly, progressively. Then I realized that Black Crow Customs is about, it's not only about the design, but it's about to make something look premium,
Mhm.
because like people are paying top dollars for it.
Mhm.
So when I first started off, my one piece of Hot Wheels cost maybe like $40-$50 Sing
Selling.
dollars.
Selling.
Yeah.
Okay.
But now Black Crow Customs product is the cheapest is $120.
Mhm.
Yeah. So from there you can tell like why they are paying top dollar for it is because I increase in the quality,
Mhm.
like the
Box. I mean,
yeah, the box, the packaging, the quality of the paint itself,
Mhm.
like how it can last, and innovative stuff like my display boxes, right?
Mm.
You can, if you collect my stuff, you can actually stack it,
Okay.
yeah, and all that. So there's
Yeah.
serial numbers.
Mm.
Then I come up with exclusive stuff like super exclusive,
Mm.
fastest fingers first. I release on
Mm.
my website and all that. Yeah, and I do like crazy stuff, like I do like 24 karat gold plated Hot Wheels.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So those who get your Hot Wheels
Mhm.
so basically they are collector.
Yes. Mhm.
No kids buy your Hot Wheels for
Eh,
play.
Back then when it was like 40, 50, yeah.
Yeah,
But now,
if like
yeah.
hundreds, the kids the father must see. Right. I mean, like, so basically, this kind of Hot Wheels are meant to be for collection.
Yes.
So,
Mm.
okay, I want to understand when people collect, how do they appreciate it? Macam when people collect it.
Just like any other collectibles, they find joy in this whatever hobbies that they have.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking about true collectors. They
Okay.
don't have any intention of reselling and all that. They just appreciate the hobby itself.
Okay.
So let's just talk about Hot Wheels. These collectors, they just love all these cars, miniature cars.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe because they don't get to buy the real ones,
Mm-hmm.
so they rather buy the toy collectibles, and they can have a lot. So when they display it, some people display just the car, some people display it with a diorama, like with the miniatures and all
Okay.
that. Yeah. And they love taking photos. They find joy in doing that.
Yeah.
So, and we also have a community. We have quite a big community,
Yeah,
like
definitely.
9,000 members local.
This thing need community.
Yeah.
So kira like updates all
Yes.
that around there, right?
So when we get together for events or whatever, like over the weekends and all that, and we just talk, you can see like like
Passionate.
adults, talking passionately about
Yeah.
toys.
Yeah.
Like, you heard of this car? Wow, when was it released? Wow, 500 pieces.
No more crazy.
No, no more crazy. Yeah, but I understand how people look at.
Now you understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I find joy in it.
Mm-hmm.
And the main thing that attracted me to this community wasn't because of the money, actually.
Mm-hmm.
It was because of the positivity in this community.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I had no idea, bro.
What do you mean?
It's like everyone is very supportive,
Mm-hmm.
and we encourage each other, not only in terms of the hobby, in terms of life.
Okay.
So we also remind each other, like don't turn this hobby into a burden. be careful of what you're spending
But do you see it as a hobby or a business?
Both.
Both. So which
Because
one go first?
business first.
Business. Okay.
Yeah. So because in Singapore, we are not like those Americans or Malaysians. They have big houses. They can just cater one big room for their collection. I mean, we Singaporeans, we can't do that. Right? We mostly live in HDB.
Yeah.
So our space are very limited and all
Okay.
that. So we streamline what we collect. So we don't just collect everything that we like.
Okay. So and then your workplace, your house.
And now it's in my house.
Your house. So that room is.
Yeah, it's converted into a studio.
So that's where you take your own picture.
Yes.
Everything you do yourself?
Yes.
No.
Everything.
Everything you do yourself. Okay. Because you might be fussy about certain things.
Yeah.
So you also have that skills. Might as well cut costs from there
Yeah.
also, right? Yeah. So basically, if people are interested in this custom Hot Wheels, right? So where do they go to find you?
For me, like I always tell anyone in this era, there's nothing that you cannot learn. It's just a scroll away.
Okay.
So if you want to find something, ilmu, right? There's Google, there's YouTube, there's TikTok, there's everywhere. There's so many platforms for you to learn from. Whatever you want, you just type in the search bar. You can find everything.
So if they want to purchase your, Black Crow Custom, so
Okay.
where do they give?
They can go to www.blackcrowcustoms.net, or they can follow me, which we are most active on Instagram.
Okay.
So that's the fastest.
So basically, you have in stock or upon
okay,
request?
nowadays, like I rarely take requests.
Okay.
Like when I first started off, that's how I earn. I take in requests from collectors, but now it's like I focus on releasing like in batches, like 20, 50, 100, yeah, those kinds. So I even do for major events. Like for example, like any organization come up to me and say, hey, Black Crow Customs, we need like 50 pieces for this event. So yeah, I do those kind of things. So I focus more on mass releases.
Okay. So if any of you are interested, in getting, you like to collect these so-called big boy toys, you can go to Black Crow
Customs.
Black Crow Custom, your website,
.net.
From there you can, browse. Currently ada in stock apa no?
No.
Then how do they follow you to know if you got released?
Those collectors, my customers and all that, they follow me religiously on Instagram. Because that's where I will feed them all the updates. The most recent updates will be there. So my website is actually just for my releases. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, for my drops. So when I announce that there's gonna be a drop like next week, 12 a.m. So collectors from all around the world will just whatever time they just wait in front of the computer and wait for my release. Yeah. So whenever I release, just like a few minutes.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mashallah. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
So okay, how I discover you? Okay, right? Is recently Ramadan. You were active on TikTok, right? Okay. What were you doing Ramadan?
Okay. That was a last minute plan between me and my childhood friends. So we decided to try out a business, like selling something together in the month of Ramadan. So we decided to sell drinks in Bazaar Gilang Serai.
Okay.
Then
First time.
Okay. And first time doing bazaar, we have like zero experience, zero knowledge. I have business background and all that, but I have zero experience in bazaar. And knowing Geylang Serai Bazaar is like the most expensive in rental, then we really like,
terjun betul.
Yeah, terjun betul lah.
Okay.
So we just tried, but I know that even though it's a risk, it has to be a calculated risk. I need to do my homework. How much are we going to spend? How much we might lose? How much we might make and all that. So it was a calculated risk. So we did a lot of homework and all that. So,
Covered.
yes,
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. But the first, when we started that, right, none of us actually like thought of becoming a TikToker or influencer or anything like that. But it was because of the first 2 days, the sales was very bad.
Okay.
Like very, very bad. Then we
First
like,
2 days means belum puasa.
belum.
Okay.
Belum puasa dah bad.
Okay.
Then we were like, I was scared.
Hmm.
Because like,
Maybe belum puasa orang tahu saya tengok tahu. Belum puasa.
I mean, belum puasa we got like the whole day to sell. And the sale was bad. So we were like worried, what if belum puasa we can only start selling it, like 6, 7. That was like so worried. Because as much as, this is a shared thing, I don't want my friends to be losing money as well. I mean, it's already bad that I'm going to be losing money. I don't want my friends to go down. Then I know that social media plays a very important part in today's world, especially when you're doing businesses and all that. So I realized that I need to do something. I need to use whatever expertise I have in social media and make use of my creativity and to do something.
To create branding.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I did something which is alhamdulillah, it went viral. So I went around asking questions.
Okay. Question is Islamic question, right?
Yes.
Okay, why go through the Islamic theme?
Because it's in the month of Ramadan.
Okay.
So I thought that I don't want to do just content which is irrelevant. I mean, we are in the prosperous month, holy month of Ramadan. Might as well we take this opportunity to dakwah. But I know that it can be boring to see like all those religious teachers preaching and preaching. I mean, like, I'm okay with that, but I know that there are those people who
Gen Z.
yeah, they don't want to see
Their
this kind of-
attention span is super short.
right. So I know that they like to see more of their generation appearing on the content. Then they like to see comedy. So I mix whatever like comedy all this. I mix it in my content. So I go around asking them, hey, do you know what's this, what's that? All Islam related questions.
So when you go around and ask this Islamic question, all that, right? What's your background about Islamic knowledge yourself?
Okay, myself, to be frank, right? Yes, I know a lot of things, but no one can know everything, right? So whatever that I find interesting myself, I get to know about it, then I share that knowledge. For example, I didn't know I know what's the month before Ramadan and all that. After Ramadan, I know, but then I asked because I want the questions to be related to each other. So it just increased in the difficulty level to the point that I asked myself, hey, who created this calendar of Islam? Then I myself didn't know the answer. Then I know that if I don't know the answer, I don't think a lot of people know. So I decided to ask that question.
But I mean, when you decided to ask, how do you get the answer first?
I do my research. Yeah. I mean,
Now, with nowadays technology also, right?
yes.
Yeah.
But of course, I stay away from those kind of answers which is not direct. There's different school of thoughts kind of answers. I don't go into that. I just
Okay. Knowing you, someone that can study well, someone who can think out of the box, right?
sure.
Someone who kalau belajar willing to go the extra mile, right? I will, since you wanting to go into this direction, right? Maybe not religiously, but I will say that I will recommend for you to try to go a structured Islamic studies, because like I said, you never know what's your future, right? You also, sometimes some people they just do that because spur of the moment, but they never know when they are in that position, suddenly the interest grow, right? And like I said, knowing you, someone who is so-called otak bergerak kan, have you ever thought of signing up for like a structured Islamic studies
Yes.
in Singapore?
Maybe in Singapore, maybe not. I don't know. But of course, the intention is there. Because I For me, especially when it comes to religion, I don't like to do without knowing what's the cause of it. For example, as simple as Al-Fatiha. We recite Al-Fatiha like every other day. Especially if you guys who are praying 5 times a day. We recite Al-Fatiha at least 10 times a day. But I can assure you how many of them really know the meaning of Al-Fatiha. And that's like the basic surah that we recite a lot. But not many people.
Kalau kena tumbuk kepala pun masih ingat Fatihah. Without thinking, sometimes you can still read it.
Yes, you can recite
autopilot.
it. But I ask you to translate the meaning. Do you know what's the meaning? Yeah. So
Translate, belum tafsir. Okay.
translate dia.
Alright. Belum tafsir.
Yeah. So I like those kind of things. So I don't like to do something just for the sake of doing. Dah macam robot lah. Kan? I like to know the meaning. Why must recite Al-Fatihah in solat? Why? Do you know why?
Okay, there are things in religion where kita cakap these things are ubudiyah, means we do this because of Prophet SAW said it. Because like at the end of the day, when it comes to religion, we have, because you can talk about religion, I can talk about religion, but at the end of the day, what's our source? Right? Because if I'm talking about religion, then what's my source? Definitely my source must be from the Quran and of course the authentic hadith of our Prophet SAW. So this reading of Al-Fatiha that we know is compulsory due to the hadith that our Prophet SAW said, yang a solat is not valid if there's no Al-Fatiha. So if you were to have a deeper understanding about that, you still need to show the evidence. To me, because at the end of the day, when we are living in this daily life, you know, all this social media can bring us news that sometimes betul-betul,
misleading.
Right? Misleading kan. So, and then kita will like macam try check betul-betul, like worldly matters tau. So when it comes to religion, definitely have to be much more. I mean, you have to really bring me a real authentic evidence.
It's our responsibility.
It's our responsibility. So that's the thing about kita yang zaman sekarang. But of course there's pro and con because information is too many out there.
Yeah.
So how we want to filter it also, we need to have the tools.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's to me the most important thing, because not everything on the social media or Google is reliable. But not everyone can filter.
That's right.
So that's why I always like macam recently, like sometimes a simple word can cause a big commotion. Okay, for example, I recently came across someone who say that when a hadith contradicts the Quran, he will totally push the hadith away. Okay, so, and he give example like the Quran say pahala is for the people who do it. Okay, and then there is a hadith where say that satu hari nanti, kat hari akhirat nanti, orang lainnya pahala boleh transfer to people. So he say like it's contradicting because Quran say you have to do it to earn it. Then suddenly orangnya hadis come and say orangnya pahala boleh transfer. Is this bank account or what? Okay, something like that he commented. To me, it's not contradicting because if we go deeper when we study hadis, every subject ada dia punya tools kan? Betul tak? Each individual subject ada dia punya tools. Kalau you belajar hadis, you akan tahu that hadis tu ada dia punya background story.
Yes.
Then from there you will know why transfer pahala.
It's different. Different context.
Yeah, different context. You got to understand the context. You cannot be pushing that, and when you push that hadis away based on what? Your logic.
Yes, sir.
How can our prophet that is authentic, you push based on your logic?
Yes, sir.
Siapa yang lebih faham agama? So to me all this you kena belajar apa?
Yeah.
So it's not as easy as ABC. It's not as easy as that. You need to go through, because there are many branches. When we talk about hadith, there are many branches that you need to learn. When you talk about Quran, there are many branches. Like you say, terjemahan, tafsir, all that. So all these things sometimes because of too many information on the social media and the so-called I would say it's not knowledge, it's more to information. Because I will differentiate knowledge and information. to me, okay, I give an analogy. Knowledge and information. When you go to the shopping center and you go to information counter, let's say example you ask, hey, where's the Gucci shop? Oh, it's at the level 2. What's on sale now? I'm not sure. They're selling bag, but I'm not sure which bag. Do you know what the bags are made of? What leather? Oh, I don't know. But I know it's at level 2. You can go there and search. Then when you go, you met the seller, the salesperson, they explain to you the bag are made of this, from this, and they detail. To me, that's information below, and that's knowledge up there. And what we get sometimes on social media is more to information. Kita tak ada knowledge, deeper knowledge about it.
Yeah.
But then, some of us start to deny certain thing based on the information we have. To me, that is very dangerous.
Yes.
That's why I say, someone like you, yang very, I'm not saying, I don't know how you see it, but if you are interested, I will definitely advise that you go through the structured. Because why, structured ni is more of like belajar. Macam kita, let's say like if you go for certification, you can progress to diploma, you can progress to degree. You never know, who knows, one day you can become Tok Kadi.
Ready.
Dia first stage lah man. Nama kekut. Okay. Sajuk juga. Songkok tinggal datang salam kan. Gendut tangan kuat sikit kan. Yeah, so who knows, you can progress. But definitely you need to step in there. And one thing I like about structured education is the exam. Because sometimes when we learn, kita don't know actually kita faham ke tak.
Yalah.
Kan? How many of us we can sit together and learn, but we don't know we faham ke tak. Nanti tanya exam pun kita tahu kita faham ke tak. But also, okay, for me personally, I've went through the structured study. I finished my diploma in Tafsir Hadis. What I notice also, right, is kita biasa sekolah, kan? What I notice also dalam Islamic study ni, some people, they are not student of knowledge. They are student of exam. Maknanya, throughout the semester, they might not understand. But dah nak dekat exam, don't tanya cikgu, sir, what question might be out? Okay, might be out this, might be out this. Then they will hafal. So when exam come, they can do, they can pass. Because of hafal. So let's say if you were to go through these studies, I believe you take the other path. Yeah. To understand what you go through. So that's why sometimes when people say, oh aku dah graduate ni, aku dah graduate tu kan, I also will be like macam, okay, Alhamdulillah, but just be known that it's not the end. Because all that cert sometimes doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, true.
It's how you understand certain things kan.
Banyak sih kita tengok orang degree so berbual English pun berterabur, for example. It's the same thing lah.
Yeah, it's worldly matter and deen matter, it can, we can tally, we can understand. And sometimes berapa banyak orang graduate in diorang punya field, but when put on the job, they can do it right. Yeah, so we are not merendahkan orang-orang yang berpelajaran. Okay, we are not merendahkan all these certification. This certification sometimes is needed bila kita nak go through certain path of life. Memang perlu. But like I said, in life, sometimes it's not all about certification.
Yes.
Just as how our brother Crow move on in life, how he do his business from scratch, he learn by himself, self-taught, doing his own research. These are another part of skills yang I always try to emphasize untuk orang-orang yang kira education tak kuat. You can still be someone, successful person, but you need to know where's your strength, right? So, like I said, when it comes to religion, kita have to be careful.
Yes.
Especially kalau kita bikin content kan, when we want to put things out on the market, kita have to do our own homework. So, how do you intend to move on from here? I mean, like, keep doing content?
Okay. Now that it's no longer Ramadan. I mean, I have friends, I have followers. I mean, like, yes, majority of them are Malay, Muslim, Singaporean and all that. But I do have other races, friends from other race, other religion, other beliefs and all that. So, I cannot only cater to my Muslim friends, especially my content and all that. So, generally, I'm the kind of person who, I don't advise people like, hey, you should do this, you should do that. No, because for me, it's like, I'm not their father. I can only share with them, if you do this, this is what happened, this is what will happen. Based on my experience. I might be wrong, I might be right. But I just love to share whatever I know, and I love even more to learn from whatever people know. Yeah, so generally I'm like that, not only in terms of religion, in terms of life, in terms of work, in terms of skill. Yeah, I just like to receive and I like to give back. I like to share.
Do
So
your research.
yeah. So of course, as a Muslim, whatever thing that I can relate it with Islam, of course I would love to do it. For example, business in general. For Muslim, we must understand that business is also ibadah, right? So, but this is not what the rest might they believe in,
Perspective.
perspective. It's not because they're not Muslim, but for Muslims, I always remind my friends, my family, that business, what I'm doing this is ibadah. So that's why I really take care of my business, like the supplies, where it comes from, like how I'm treating my customers, where I receive the income, how much am I receiving, how much am I charging, what kind of services am I providing, what kind of products am I providing. So I take care every part of my business, every factor, because I believe that in order for the source of rezeki to be berkah, you have to check everything. So
But people say like, duit masuk Allah kasih rezeki.
yes,
Sometimes people like don't take care of all this.
yes.
They don't even think about this. Maybe they think. I don't say they don't think. Maybe they think. But sometimes how come when their act contradicts their words, then they still get flow of risk. Then risk, right? So how do we see that?
Okay, I give you a very good example. You've seen people earning $2,000 per month, and they're happy, contented, comfortable. You see people who earn $5,000-$6,000 per month and still not happy, right?
Yeah.
But do we ask ourselves why? So from there, from what I've learned, especially from this story, it was shared to me in a religious class. Okay, this hamba Allah ni, he asked this Ustad, like, Ustad, why is this $3,000 not enough to me? And what should I do to make it like enough? Then Ustad said, go to your boss and ask him to lower your pay to $2,000. Then he was like, I mean, so he believed in this Ustad, like he knows that he's a well-known figure and all that. So he gave it a try. So after a few months of earning that $2,000, it wasn't still enough. So he went back to the same Ustad, said, Ustad, I've been receiving $2,000 per month for like a few months now, and it's actually worse. Then the Ustad said, is it? Okay, go back to your boss, ask him to lower your salary even more to $1,000. So by then he already like, he already get lesser already, so might as well just go through it.
The water is level is near already.
I said, like, heck it, just try. Okay. Then he did. His boss was happy, of course, like pay lesser and all that. But surprisingly, with earning $1,000, everything was smooth for him. He was contented, he was happy, he has enough food for his wife and kids, everything was enough. Then he go back to the Ustad and said, Ustad, why? Like, how is it possible?
What's the
3,000,
logic?
what's the logic? Then the Ustad said, you might be earning $3,000 back then, but do you know that the 3,000 doesn't belong to you? Not all of it belongs to you. So some of it is actually belongs to someone else.
And he might not give it out.
Yeah.
To
So
the righteous,
for example, you eat, makan tak kenyang-kenyang. Makan tak kenyang. Satu hari berapa banyak kali makan. That's one sign of your rezeki is tak berkat lah. Pasal kalau macam orang betul-betul rezeki tu berkat, makan satu kali, satu hari dah kenyang.
Should be lah. Enough to sustain.
Yeah. That's one of the signs.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what many people fail to see, sadly. That's why for me, like, I don't care. I earn, no matter how much I earn, as long as it's berkat, Alhamdulillah. So I might be earning lesser this month compared to any other month. But I'm happy because I know that I jaga my ibadah, my business. So whatever that I'm getting is berkah. If I get $1,000, inshallah that $1,000 is for me. Yeah. Rather than I earn like 20, 30,000 for that month, and tak ke mana. Then I know something is wrong already.
Nak kena check balik lah.
Yes.
You know, sometimes, like you said just now, maybe portion of our risk is for others. I remember this one story about goes back to the golden era where Islam is at the best moment, right? There's these two scholars, both are scholars. They disagree on one thing though, that one of them say that risk must be earned, means you have to go out and do. One of them say risk Allah has determined. So no matter what, the risk will come to you. So they disagree on this point, right? Because it's contradicting, right? So one day, both of them are scholars, learning and teaching. So one day, let's say A and B. A say you must go and do to earn it. B say the risk will come to you, what Allah has determined for you. So one day A was walking and then he saw people doing pruning of fruits, all that, right? So he went to help. He went to help and then he was rewarded lah with some of the fruits. So he said when he received the fruits, right, he was like macam, I have the evidence to show that this is what I mean. I need to do some work to earn it. So he went to B. B was doing his learning, preparing his teaching later, right? Then he came to B and put on the table and say, see, this is what I meant. He told him what happened. He helped someone and then that person reward him and see. And then B said, what? No, I'm going to show you my point. He take the fruits, he eat. See, I didn't do anything. What rezeki Allah has determined for me, it will come to me on the table. So it just shows that both of them are right. It's just that we are not saying that don't go out and put in effort. But how much effort you put, you still need to understand that the portion that is meant for you will be meant for you.
Yes.
Yeah, sometimes what you on the other perspective, you might think that, hey, I do everything I got to earn this. Why must I give to others? Like you said, maybe some of it belong to others.
Yes.
So you have to give that zakat out. You have to give out that zakat. So, and the thing is about business is kadang-kadang, you know, we have this word we say duit tutup mata. Sometimes bila duit dah banyak, okay, we don't want to get into names, right? But orang cakap apa ni? The saga that happened during Ramadan, okay? Promoting business in a negative way. What's your perspective? We don't have to mention him. What's your perspective?
Okay, for me as a business person, that's marketing.
Okay.
Right. Of course, there's many ways to do it. For you, you might see, oh, that's a bad way to portray. But for me, maybe that's a good way to portray. It's subjective. What's bad to you might not be bad to me, right? But then again, we know what's right, what's wrong. Even if we see something which is wrong, it's not our position to judge, right? Because we go back to our basic. Islam teaches us to husnuzon. And if people who truly understand the meaning of husnuzon, you need to find at least 70 reasons. 70 reasons.
Mencari alasan for your brothers lah.
Yes.
Example, right? Okay.
Before you come to a conclusion. So, yes, that's what we were taught, like 70 reasons. But if you look at it, you can find 70 reasons. So, the message behind why you need to find that 70 reasons, because by the time you get to how many reasons, you cannot think of any already. So, bottom line, no need to judge.
Okay.
So, even if you want to say something, even if you feel, hey, my Muslim brother is not doing something right, there's a way to approach the person, right? You can say, Salam, my brother. I don't think what you're doing is right and it's nice. Maybe you can, do other ways for your content, for your marketing. But the approach that a lot of them has taken is the negative approach. It's social media. Anyone is free to comment, to hate and all that. Yeah, but that's not what Islam teaches us, right?
Understand. But you see, on another perspective, because you see judges, daripada segi Islam, people say, yeah, you like you said, I agree, husnuzon, and we shouldn't easily judge people. If they do things publicly, some things need to be attend publicly also.
True.
Kan? Because apa tahu, like for example, you buat maksiat sembunyi-sembunyi, yes, we shouldn't go and expose you. Because we shouldn't even tajasus like go and find your ni to expose you. Agree. But kalau you buat maksiat terang-terangan, sometimes certain things need to be explained to the public. Because you have shown it to the public. And sometimes we might not be able to address you. Not, I mean, okay guys, not him. I mean, it's an example lah. Okay, we might not be able to address you, but we need to address the public.
Yes.
Educate the public, right? So we have to speak to the public, but like I said, don't have to use harsh word on
Yes.
the act. So because there is one hadith of our Prophet SAW. In this hadith, our Prophet SAW say, "Man ra'a minkum munkara falyughayyiru bi yadihi, fa in lam yastati' fa bi lisanihi, fa in lam yastati' fa bi qalbi. Wa dzalika adaful iman." He said, whoever saw kemungkaran, he should change it with his hands. Maksudnya, not go and punch, but hand tu, if you have the authority, force him to stop. Sekiranya tak mampu, fa in lam yastati', dengan lisan, advice lah. Advice, I would say, advice privately, or depan-depan, or whatever, right? Kalau tak mampu juga, you tolak dengan hati. And that, our Prophet SAW said, that is the lowest of iman. Tolak dengan hati means you cannot approve. Two different thing, right? Tolak dengan hati, tak agree, dengan approving. Membenarkan dengan hati that actually okay. So that's the least kita as, viewer can do. If you can stop him, you advise. If you can't advise, it may cause much more chaos or what, right? Then you have to push it with your heart. That's the least, that's the lowest of, because maknanya para ulama mengatakan kalau sekiranya tolak dengan hati pun tak boleh, mana iman you? Like you said, on a business perspective, maybe it kicks in. The strategy, the marketing strategy, which I don't deny, like it attracts attention, right? But like you say, as a businessman who seeks the barakah of Allah, do you think it's appropriate? Because does it have effect on influence on the future generation? What do you think?
Okay, personally, honestly, yes, I know that it's not appropriate. But you've seen how I reacted to those. I can be those kind of commenters that say, apa sayang kau, kasih malu Melayu, kasih malu Islam, bikin gini. I can be that person, but I can also take the different approach. I say, Masya Allah bro, aku doakan kau akan buatlah konten yang lebih baik, yang lebih bermanfaat in future, insyaAllah. That's doa for him. So you can choose which kind of commenter you want to be, right? So of course, yes, salah tu salah. But ask yourself this. Kau fikir dia tak tahu ke yang tu benda salah? Tak banyak sikit mesti dia tahu. Cuma maybe he's in a situation where he finds that he's in a situation where I need to do whatever works for now. But in future, insyaAllah, I try to be better. That's how we husnuzan, right? Yeah, but then again, you imagine this. If one day in Akhirah, we see that we end up in hell, this kind of people end up in syurga. Can we say to Allah, say, Ya Allah, mana boleh? Say, apa dia buat ni salah, kau masuk in the syurga? Cannot. So my point is like, whatever it is, like, it's not our place to judge lah. Maybe to us, what he did is wrong. But maybe not to Allah. The thing is, we cannot know. Yeah, we see as Muslim, as logic, we see, ni benda memang terang-terang dia salah. We can say salah, but we cannot say dosa. Betul tak?
Okay.
Hmm.
I have a view okay, you see macam example macam makan.
Hmm.
Okay, makanan Kalau kita kita punya kebiasaan.
Hmm.
Okay, ni I
Okay.
mean your life. Okay. Kalau kebiasaannya kita food review tak sedap, kita akan cakap, "Oi, tak sedap ni gini-gini kan." I mean like when we make food review, we try to be honest kan. Tapi when we say dosa, it's not upon us to say ni benda dosa.
Yes.
But it's upon Allah and Rasul to say that thing dosa. Okay. Bila larangan, dia melarang kita buat sesuatu tu, maknanya benda tu dosa lah. Bila dia larang kita buat benda tu, maknanya benda tu dosa.
For me, it's haram.
Yang haram dosa lah.
Dosa is the sentence tu. You understand what I mean? Like,
Okay,
makan babi alkohol. Kau makan, kau minum, haram.
Yes.
Dosa ke tak? Bukan kita pasal kita apa tau? Kita tahu law. Tapi kita bukan judge.
Okay.
That's for me lah.
Okay, from a perspective, I can agree to that sekiranya ada situation. Example the situation is apa tau? Dia ni makan babi kerana darurat.
Yeah.
Okay. Then that act yang dia makan pun tak haram pun. Pasal darurat. Tak haram, tak dosa. Tapi kalau tak ada apa-apa, tiba-tiba pig organ soup makan. Haram. What's the effect of haram is dosa. Dia, I mean,
okay, dosa tu for me, my personal practice is like, even if I see someone yang tengah buat maksiat lah, for example but I say, ni benda haram ni orang buat. But I didn't say dosa doang. I don't practice that lah.
Okay, I mean, what stop you from seeing tu benda dosa?
Because
what's in your mind?
I'm very scared to jatuhkan hukum pada orang tu dosa tak. Pasal I don't know the full story.
Okay.
Like if we see macam dia ni darurat, clear cut, that's why dia makan babi. Okay. But if we don't know, most of the time kita nampak orang Melayu tengah minum, kita bukan pergi sana kata, kau asal kau minum? Tak apa.
Okay.
Kita tengok minum je, kita buat bodoh, kita jalan. We don't know the full story.
Okay. So what's the possible story kalau let's say example kedai kopi what's the possible story yang
maybe dia ada medical condition ke apa.
Medical condition, okay.
I mean like I said, husnuzon, we need to think about 70 reasons kenapa dia tengah buat tu benda. So selagi kita boleh fikir apa sebab dia, kita fikir lah. Tapi kalau tak, even though memang dia buat is tu antara dia dengan Allah. Kita as a Muslim, kalau kau nak pergi approach dia tu tegur, kau tegur macam, bro, kau Musliman. Kau tu benda haram je. That's the most you can do. Pasal kalau dia terima, dia macam, betul. Dah bagus kalau dia nak accept. Haram tu haram. Dia boleh cakap, aku yang pasal lah.
Cantik. Kalau dia tengok aku yang pasal lah, cantik. Okay. Ya, boleh dikeroskan.
Okay.
Tak charge, you boleh charge tau.
Memang lah.
Dah habis terus. Apa ni? Okay, the thing is because apa tau, there ada satu kisah daripada Umar bin Khattab yang mana dia, okay like I said, when kita nak buat sesuatu kan, especially about religion, we take contoh from the people that is when Islam is at the peak. That is Nabi punya sahabat and then the people who come after him, right? Pernah Umar dia menghukum orang daripada zahir. Ya, pasal kalau kita tak boleh hukum orang daripada zahir, then Islamic law tak boleh dia apply. But of course like you say, bila kita mungkin dia not mental, sakit mental apa kan. So that's the thing lah, maybe kira apa, you can approach. That's when that's why I say the hadith yang you can stop, you stop. If not, advise, right? So that's the approach. But what we can say is, bila Islamic law tu nak come in place, of course kita kena cari reason and kita nak kena tahu dia punya story. But first kira have to be kena stop. I mean kena detain, so called detain. Maksudnya detain tu nak kena put the hukum secara zahir. We are not allow. Pasal pernah juga orang yang kira kat dalam rumah bermaksiat. Pada zaman Umar juga orang macam mencari-cari kan. Sekali Umar kira marah. Umar cakap, you are not supposed to find. Pasal dia buat maksiat dalam rumah. Kalau dia buat kat luar, kau nampak, Yes. Tapi kalau dia buat kat rumah, let's say dia beli botol, bawa balik rumah, kau tak boleh kira kira mencari, tak boleh. Pasal dia even try to cover dia punya maksiat. So kalau dia buat kat luar, Islamic law has to come in. So that's what I see. Like, but dia beza tau, kira macam kau menghukum, okay, macam cakap ini benda dosa. Beza kau menghukum dengan kau menghujat. I mean, kesing. It's two different thing. Kesing ni orang kadang-kadang yang bikin benda tu jadi sour pasal kesing ni. Lagi dengan social media, macam like recently about apa tattoo I saw you post about tattoo. Because you know I also did post about tattoo ni because I saw there's this one guy kat Malaysia yang kira Hong Kong Siao, but he was a boxer. He's a boxer or what lah. Then he was promoting Melayu. Then people start to comment him dekat apa ni, komen apa Melayu tak gini lah, ni kafir ke apa, all this stuff kan. So that's social media punya sepak terajang lah, I would say, right? But then I also believe on my perspective as how we are, we look like, kita nak keluar muka ni pun nak kena tahan lasak. Kita tak boleh cengeng lah. Because kalau kita cengeng kan nanti
of course.
kita akan explode. Kita akan explode. So what's your advice to people like us yang nak keluar muka dengan social media yang sifat terajang ni? What's your advice?
For me, it's not a new thing. I'm seasoned to that already. When I first started going on social media, becoming public and all that, which was years ago, of course, affected lah, baru-baru kena kan. But I'm at a point where ni benda dah jadi lali. So I'm numb to this. But so people saw that video yang viral kan. They thought like I'm triggered, I'm affected by the comments. But actually I wasn't, not even a single bit. It's just that I'm taking that opportunity to komen-komen tu semua. That's for me, itu boleh jadikan satu content. But content macam mana? Aku nak content yang bermanfaat.
How you want to direct your viewer to.
Yes. So I make use of that to try to educate people that there's many ways to react to this kind of comments. So how did I react in that video is that I prayed for them. Orang lagi benci aku, aku boleh balas balik dengan benci. Aku boleh balas balik dengan kata-kata yang kesat. But did I? No. I just pray to Allah that, ya Allah, sesungguhnya orang-orang ni benci aku, benci rupa aku, tattoo aku. Tak apalah, janji aku tak nak kau yang benci aku. And aku tak nak kau benci orang-orang yang mengata aku ni. But instead give them taufik dan hidayah, bukakan hati diorang, lembutkan lisan diorang, lembutkan hati diorang untuk terima orang-orang macam aku ni yang nak berubah. InsyaAllah.
Do you find it tough to istiqamah?
Yes, of course. Of course. Yeah, even until
What's
now.
the biggest challenge that you think?
Anything that is good, bro, is very hard, bro. Anything that is good is very, very hard. Kalau aku nak cakap pasal yang jahat kan, kau suruh aku tumbuk orang bermuka, untuk aku senang lah tu benda. Kau suruh aku ni bentang sejadah, solat.
Kau tengok you have went through the rough path, right? And kau also went deep the mud, right? With that adrenaline that you have at that point of time. Aku personally kalau kau kenal aku kat Pulau Cendana, you know I'm not as how I am. Ada time tu kira bila orang nampak aku pakai seluar panjang tu, orang cakap, bro, nak pergi taekwondo ke apa? If you know me, I never act on this. And when there was a point of time, I decided to tell myself that apa tau, I want to be law abiding. That's all. Law abiding. Okay. No religious involved. Law abiding. My first mission when I stepped to the real world. And I've maintained that. And I'm proud of that. And there was a time where suddenly when I wanted to hijrah, many things happen that makes me become stronger in my hijrah. And I finally see that apa tahu, only this religion can tame me. Because I can be law abiding, but there's still the inner beast that wanting to try many things. But only this religion can tame us. So many things happen, and it just makes me think that Allah has given me, Allah has shown me many doors. Why am I not moving towards there? Why am I being ungrateful by my act? Dia kira apa tahu, kadang-kadang macam orang ni, dia bersyukur dengan kata-kata. Tapi action dia tak berapa sangat tau.
Yes.
So kita
Cakap orang, aku lah.
okay, I mean something to work on. Okay.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day macam iman ni dia adalah sesuatu yang kira apa tau, kita ucap kat lisan, kita benarkan dengan hati, dan kita amalkan dengan perbuatan. This is tiga ni iman, keimanan. So it's not merely words, it has to follow with action. Baru iman kita tu sempurna. So aku that point of time aku just believe that I have to go deep. And aku use that mindset, kalau dulu keluar jahat kau boleh all out, asal bila kau nak buat baik kau tak boleh all out.
I saw that episode.
Yeah, I've told
Jangan cengeng.
jangan cengeng. I tell myself, because time keluar jahat dulu, orang cakap kau apa, kau buat wecau, kau I don't care, langgar. You've been in deep mud. Okay? You have been in deep mud. You know where you have gone, you know what you have received, you know what you have taken. And you know that you can still stand up after you face that. But now, you are choosing another path. But that spirit, you can still channel, right? And aku believe, like I said just now, aku believe you being you, genius, the determination which you apply in your business, you can apply in your deen, in your religion.
InsyaAllah.
And insyaAllah, kira aku believe you can be better than what you have already been.
Yes,
No.
InsyaAllah.
InsyaAllah. And it's not me sitting here saying dengan janggut, dengan apa kan, berbual macam kira I'm already, like you said lah, tu kunci syurga dah, tu tiket dah beli kat apa TikTok live ke apa, ada jualan tiket. No, it's just that sometimes why I'm doing all these things also is to anchor me down. So kadang-kadang kita perlu buat sesuatu untuk anchor kita punya ni. Kadang-kadang ada orang nak kurus kan, dia sengaja post kat social media kan. Why? Because they know people are looking, so they have to really discipline themselves. Because sometimes you need that kind of, bukan nak riak, tapi to anchor yourself down lah. So one of the reason I do all what I'm doing, keluar muka, talk about religion kan, after learning and still learning of course, I want to anchor myself down. Yeah, because kita tahu diri kita.
Yes.
Anytime kita boleh,
Yeah.
because we have taste whatever we tasted. But like you said, lagi satu macam you cakap, nak buat jahat senang. Tapi don't you think nak buat baik pun senang?
To me?
Yeah.
No.
You like right now kalau you kasih $50 pun dah senang. Dah buat baik. Kau buat baik.
Berterusan tu.
So it's not about, you see, nak berterusan pukul orang pun tak senang juga. Kadang-kadang not really easy tak berterusan, nak pukul pancit, penat, you know.
But easier.
Yeah. I don't
The good and the bad tu easier.
to istiqamah. But like I said, okay, that's why I said kira nak buat baik ni actually senang. Macam-macam cara buat baik. But like you said, istiqamah. Itu istiqamah yang kira kita perlu doa. But like I said, the mentality that you have, that you put in your life, actually is just the thing je. Yang I believe that kita boleh.
InsyaAllah.
Kita boleh insyaAllah. Tapi like I said, when it comes to the deen, kita have to know the right sources lah.
Yes, of
Itu
course.
important.
That's our responsibility.
My advice lah to myself before others, bila kita nak buat baik, always ensure that kebaikan yang kita buat tu ada contoh dia. Ada contoh dia daripada Nabi SAW. I like to read about sirah. Okay, because from sirah kita akan tahu tau. Orang selalu cakap bila buat ni, oh ni sunnah. Kan, tapi how we want to know whether perkara tu sunnah ke tak? Through sirah. Then we know, oh Nabi buat tak benda ni? Para sahabat buat tak benda ni? Kalau diorang buat, kita buat. Kalau diorang tak buat, if you can refrain, you refrain. Because we never know what we are doing ni. Macam you cakap tadi, bila orang buat maksiat, kita tak tahu whether it's dosa or not. Diterima Allah hukum ke tak. So sama juga kepada kebaikan. Bila kita buat baik, kita tak tahu Allah terima ke tak.
That's why.
How we want to know Allah terima ke tak? Bila Allah dah put this thing under reward ibadah, dia reward ibadah. Kalau no, means is vague. So you also might be doing things orang cakap kira tak berfaedah tak. So just stay within the safe zone. And for kira like I said lah, dalam beribadah ni, insyaAllah kita boleh ibadah ni kita boleh kena paksa lah. Macam ada orang kira macam cakap ibadah ni nak kena datang, nanti time come kita akan bikin kan. To me dia kena paksa. No choice, kena paksa. So yeah, from where I look to you, kira insyaAllah may Allah guide you to the direction.
InsyaAllah.
InsyaAllah. So now after Ramadan and such kan, what's your future plan ni sekarang?
Okay, after Ramadan, of course, my goal in life generally is like, tak kira lah Ramadan ke apa, I just want to be a better version of myself, day in, day out. So, saya cakap, better than yesterday dah baik lah. So, walaupun 1 millimeter punya difference pun, tak apa, janji lebih baik. But of course, I have my bad days juga. But my plan now is just to move forward. Apa-apa yang dah jadi tu semua, I learn from those experiences. Dan aku punya orang, aku tak sombong lah. Macam aku kalau nak belajar, tak kira kau muda, kau tua ke, kau ada experience, kau tak ada experience. Benda yang bagus aku boleh belajar dengan kau, aku belajar. So, I just want to focus on my businesses now. On top of Hot Wheels, sekarang aku pun dah start main bazaar. So, I'm gonna be...
Hot Wheels tak jual kat bazar?
Kata kalau aku tak nak bikin.
Feature guys. So korang pergi bazar jangan lupa budget lebih guys. Tentu ada Hot Wheels kan, anak korang nak beli apa beli kan.
Jangan terperanjat.
But boleh tak kira macam F&B dengan that kind of stuff on the same? Boleh. Okay, I
Macam
thought
Happy
like
Meal.
Okay. Tapi I mean the bazaar allow
I mean
separate.
It's how you want to sell it.
How you
If you do it as a gift, like you buy my drink, you get free Hot Wheels.
Gitu macam free Hot Wheels, kira dia punya drink harga mesti harga premium ke mah. Kalau nak masuk Hot Wheels harga dia macam premium guys. Duit lebih. Ini jual air ke jual Hot Wheels kan.
But I'm gonna move on with more things lah, especially this F&B. I'm trying to do something in this F&B industry. I'm trying to use my creativity to do something different when it comes to food and also the content that I'm going to be doing lah.
InsyaAllah from there. Aku actually minat F&B because like aku said, when aku came back to the real world, my first job was kitchen. I grew up in I get back on my feet from kitchen lah. So aku pun
I remember that was what you wanted to do.
Yeah, that was what I wanted. But I know at that point in time kan macam aku pernah cakap nak pergi Shatec ke at Sunrise kan. But I didn't went, you know why? Because the school program will be around 2 years, right? So when I was in the kitchen, my head chef asked me, you want to go school 2 years? Yeah. What do you want to be? So I told him what I want to be, right? So dia cakap, you want to go to restaurant or hotel line? So I said, restaurant because I'm in restaurant, I'm comfortable with it. So he said, if you want to go restaurant, don't waste time. Because certification is not needed. Experience. I can teach you that 2 years, you'll be much better than those who graduated from Sunrise and Shatec. Unless you want to go to hotel. So you need to know where's your journey, proceed. Don't waste time. So that's what aku also take from him lah, that theory. Know what you want, do the homework, pursue. Jangan terjun betul because you might waste that 2-3 years, you know. So that's what I did lah. So and yeah, true enough, after I grow at the kitchen, there was this boy who on intern I think came to our kitchen right and work lah. He jam bro, jam because why, you know, in school you are given 30 minutes maybe to do a mushroom soup, but in real kitchen 5 minutes you must settle bro. So dia punya dacah.
You know that I was in kitchen before I met you, right? I think I did share with you. I mean, I went through the same thing you did. Macam asal cakap budak Shatec masuk Ya, memang budak Shatec semua kena tekan apa. Ya, pasal yelah korang ada cert.
Yeah.
But doesn't mean korang boleh apply.
Yes, the application. But just to share, my first, because kalau kitchen kan, kalau kita masuk restoran kan dia ada cold side, hot side kan. So of course starting kita start dekat cold side kan, bikin pizza, salad, dessert. But on a first day, I went to the hot side. So it's a normal day, of course, normal day, and then santai-santai. But of course in industry kitchen ni dia weekend ber, Friday slam day lah kira kan. Then yeah, on my first day, Saiful, you ready able to go on hot side? Okay, chef ready. 6, 8 stove. So the head chef expect everything to be used, shouldn't be empty. Aku dia panggil order kan, aku down sampai aku dah pusing dia dah tak nak cari salt tu kat tepi sini je, kat tepi sini. Has been there throughout my life in the kitchen, dekat situ. Aku pusing cari salt nak season. Aku punya chef tengok, hey, what you doing? Salt beside you. Hey, you go. Aku cakap dah jam saya. Yeah, so you see, I take that experience and I put it in my life now also. Under all that pressure, sometimes kita boleh slip.
Yes.
Slip of mind. Kita throughout life punya pressure ni, kadang-kadang kita boleh terlupa benda yang kita have been doing, day in, day out. So sometimes the pressure of life really takes a toll on us. But we need someone to remind us, to nudge us. So sebab tu kadang-kadang your life partner might be beneficial, right? Like you say, sometimes they support you, want to be the Khadijah in your life, right? So yeah, aku doakan semoga marriage korang kira berkekalan.
Amin.
And korang move towards the better person daily together. And it's gonna be, orang cakap, much more memorable when korang hand in hand move towards Allah.
Amin.
Right? Yeah, that's the goal that we want lah. Because at the end of the day, kita nak apa ni?
That's eventually what we are aiming for, bro.
Yeah, we want to be here on this dunia and together in the akhirat.
Yes.
Tapi you still need to tell her lah, kalau Allah bless you with bidadari, tak boleh jealous lah. Tapi dia still letak lah kita buat.
Betul, aku tidur luar sah.
InsyaAllah dia dah tak ada cemburu lah nanti. InsyaAllah. Boys talk. Yeah, so okay. I think we have gone through 1 hour plus, right? So any last word to people who are struggling? Okay, kira macam to make it in life positively, and also people who are struggling to walk or even jog or even run towards Allah. Yeah, maybe any last word for us?
For me, to put it in a nutshell, it's just that whatever that you are trying to do, whatever that you're trying to pursue, whether for yourself, for your family, or for whatever reason, like I said to Saifullah, it's nothing good is ever easy. Because if it's easy, then chances are it's not a good thing. Right? If it's too easy.
Too good to be true scam.
So of course, life itself is not meant to be easy. Yeah, life is unpredictable. Experiences will teach you things that you don't usually want to learn, but you just have to learn. Just keep on pressing on. Like, do whatever that you have to do. There will be naysayers no matter what you do. Right? People will still say, you do good things, you do bad things. People will still say, look at the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He's the perfect man that Allah has given us as a role model. Even the Prophet himself, he has haters.
Yeah.
He has naysayers.
Families.
Padahal dia perfect. Apa lagi kita? So,
percentage will be more.
So just carry on. If you know that what you are doing is in the righteous path, inshallah, you don't need anyone else. You just need Him. And of course, don't think that you can do whatever that you are doing because of your hard work, because of your struggles, because of your abilities. It's all because of Him. Like, always remember that who gives you the strength, who gives you the wisdom to do whatever that you want to do. Always go back to Him, praise Him. That will make you humble. Humility is not something that everyone has, and it's not something that can be taught. It has to be practiced. And like I said to a lot of people who know me, discipline is the key lah, bro.
Agree.
Yeah, so I always believe in this thing. I mean, you guys might disagree with me, but this is just my view. For example, I get up in the morning, I make up my bed. That very small action, to me, is very important, because if I can do that small thing, what makes me think that I can do bigger things out there? Yeah. So everything starts small. So that's where, consistency. It's not easy. Yeah. But the more you do it, inshallah, the easier it gets. Yeah.
Second nature.
Yeah. And the more you do it, you will realize, you will see the reward. Yeah. It might not be in monetary form, but He will bless you in ways that you can never imagine. Yeah.
Correct.
I'm pretty sure you experienced that before. Right?
Correct. Kita also tahu barang siapa yang bertakwa, Allah akan buka jalan keluar bagi kita. You know, for us, the doors are unlimited to Allah. We might see it narrowly, but actually, the doors are unlimited. You just need to put your taqwa in. Yeah, and like our brother Kro say, hidup ni akan diuji. Hidup ni memang diujian pun. Kita kat sini bukan untuk senang lenang. Kita akan diuji. Dan kira Allah nak tengok which of us can adakan tu amal yang terbaik. Dia bukan hanya setakat beramal tau, tapi amalan yang terbaik. As how we know, Allah mention allazi khalaqal mauta wal hayata liyabluwakum ayyukum ahsanu amala. Which of you yang kira amalan dia yang terbaik. Dia not only hanya beramal, tapi kita nak adakan amalan yang terbaik. As how dalam life kita, in marriage ke, in your daily dunia life, sometimes you want to give your best, right? So it's the same. For your deen and dunya, give it a shot. So yeah, we appreciate your time, bro. And I believe there are some insights that you guys can take from our sharing, right? And like today, you guys dapat witness my English, right? Okay. And how his English is better than mine. Right? Allah Mabarik. Right? So today I try to converse in English, guys. You see how rivalry helps each other, yeah? So okay, we are rival, guys. But ingat, dia kira apa tau? Dia ada itu jealous, Jealous ni dia ada. Dia akan membuahkan hasad dan dengki, ada. But jealousy ni juga kepada kebaikan, dia dipanggil gipta. Gipta ni maknanya positive jealous. So kita punya jealousy ni is to inspire and motivate each other to be a better version of us. So use your jealousy tu in a right way. Alright. So it's fine to have that rivalry, but make sure that rivalry brings you closer to goodness. So yeah, thank you very much, Kro.
Thank you for having me here.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure. So okay guys, insyaAllah korang kan, aku nak cakap kurang sikit. Korang kat TikTok banyak tau follow kita, tapi dekat YouTube kan, it's where kita upload kita punya full podcast. So follow us dekat YouTube. Mana ni? Saya tak nak keluar ni. Kau nampak tak? Tak nampak Alamak, dia bikin pasal lah guys. Okay, follow kita kat YouTube, Hikmah di Sebalik Kisah. Alright, subscribe, klik notification button, alright, so that kalau kita ada episod baru akan datang, you guys are not left out, alright. So kita punya YouTube ni is where kita upload kita punya full. So yang shorts ke apa, reels, you only get at TikTok and Instagram, alright. And also don't forget to follow our sponsor, Hikmah Relief Services and Hikmah Ukhuwah Merch, and they are the sponsor for our episodes, alright. So itu dia, kita akan end everything today. And thank you to our brother Kro for coming and sharing his thoughts, his experience business, his perspective in business, and you know, his journey and how he perceived life. Alright. And I believe every people has their story, and every story has a wisdom. Alright. So itulah dia perjalanan kehidupan orang. Masing-masing ada dugaan masing-masing, dan di setiap balik dugaan tu pasti ada hikmah, dan di situlah korang jumpa kita di Hikmah di Sebalik Kisah. Assalamualaikum guys. Fi amanillah. Barakallahu fikum.